with full coverage of the Auburn Tigers,
Touchdown, Auburn!
the Alabama Crimson Tide,
Off to the inside, intercepted Alabama. Touchdown!
and everything college and high school sports. Now, let's join Andy, Brett, Randy, and Luke for this edition of Sports Blitz Live.
Good Saturday morning. Welcome into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. I'm Randy Lee alongside Scott Hardy this morning. Be here with you until 9. Love to hear from you, 256-234-6221. You see the phone number down at the bottom of the screen. Give us a phone call. It's a great time of year. A lot of high school recruiting going on that we'll try to highlight here from the state of Alabama. Ball games kind of getting set that will start here in the next few weeks. You've got teams starting up. Fall practices, I don't know if you call it fall right now. I mean, I'm melting every time I walk outside at this point, and thanking the good Lord above that I no longer have to go out there 2 times a day in all those pads and do that. I don't think I could do it. I think I'd die after one day of it. But the boys are getting ready for the seasons to start. There's a lot of other high school events getting started up, Scott. We had some news come down the pipe this week where 2 new sanctioned sports for girls athletics here in the state. One of them's wrestling, which has been started for a few years, but now it's a sanctioned sport for the state, and flag football for the girls' side. I think that it's going to be a monster sport once it gets set and other schools decide that they're going to jump in on it. But, it's a good start to it. Scott, a lot going on in the world of sports, especially on the high school side.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting very close to our favorite time of the year, which is the opportunity to go out and call a lot of these games and see some of the best talent in the country. But I do, to your point about the flag football, I think that it's going to be massive. The participation levels will be great. We've already seen it with the teams that do have it. I mean, how supportive and the communities have been and how cool it is that, Super 7, they still get that, everybody's participating in that and still get that same feeling. So I think that'll be a big get for the state.
If you've not watched the sport, it's a fun sport. We just participated in it on the boys' side. There was a few girls in our league here in Ellick City, but we participated, and NFL Flag really does a tremendous job. I didn't realize, I think when we went out to Houston to play in that regional, I thought it was like the one time throughout the year that you could go do it. Man, there's an NFL Flag tournament in a region just about every weekend, and they're all highly participated. A lot of girls, girls love the sport of football. They just have really never had an outlet to get out there and play it on a competitive level. And now with it being a sanctioned sport, it will be even more that you can do with that sport here in the state of Alabama, and I think that it will be big. Some schools will have to make a decision on whether they're going to open it up. Because it will. It's like everything. You open up in a certain enrollment level of a school. If you go in there and you say, okay, well, we're going to play flag and volleyball and this sport all in the same cycle. Well, some schools don't necessarily have enough athletes to field teams. So it kind of pulls from one and takes from another. We've seen it in the sport of baseball. Probably the sport that's had the biggest issue with it over my lifetime is baseball because of the growth of soccer here in this state. Both of them are played in the spring in the state of Alabama. I think in Georgia they play it in the fall.
Yeah.
And I think that they play softball in the fall in Georgia. Did you realize that?
I didn't know that about softball.
Josh Brewer that works with me, Josh very heavy into the softball game. He said they play it in the fall, and then a lot of their girls do their travel. They'll start up their travel in the spring because it is you don't talk about a year-round sport. It's softball. But back to this, though, depending on when they choose to do it, soccer and baseball fall at the same time. A lot of times that's the same athlete, isn't it, Scott? So you're having to choose between one or the other.
Yeah, we've seen it. I mean, my entire life, too. A lot of guys, I was like, man, they would make really good baseball players. Or somebody would say, he could run, he could be really good in soccer, and never really get that opportunity. But, there's been talks at different times about maybe changing some of the, seasons in which some of these sports takes place. But I think the best way for that to happen, if you want to make sure that you're getting the most amount you can from your student body, is to have is to have participation. So if you force that growth and force the conversation, then it has those conversations that have to take place.
Well, the one thing you see, and I hope if you haven't found our AHSAA Radio Network page, our social media outlets, please do. Go out there and look for us. Brett and I work really hard, along with others, but he and I kind of head that off, and we work really hard to provide content that's intriguing not only to football fans but to high school sports fans. And the one thing that I realize, Scott, is certain communities have embraced certain sports. And when they embrace those sports and you post to it or you give a little acclaim to that sport, they kind of gravitate to it. And, we can go down the list of, some areas that have tremendous girls sports and they're mediocre on the boys side, and vice versa. Great boys sports, and then they don't care too much about their girls athletics, or at least they don't win as often as they do. So we know some of those communities are out there, and we try to make sure that we cover each and every sport as well as we can. It's hard to get enough content out there from the top of the state all the way to the bottom, but that's one thing that we are working on, and I know that you see it. I'm a history buff, so we'll probably do a segment or two this morning of a little history stuff just to go back to some of these posts that we've made as we're heading into the season, especially some records that are currently being set, or some records that have been set recently that may have someone looking in to possibly beat them. But it's a great time of year to talk about all of that too, Scott.
Oh, yeah. This time of year, typically it starts about now. They start posting, your all-time winning teams in the state, and a lot of conversation I've seen on social media this week about Benjamin Russell and being a top 10 program, and a lot of those wins coming in 6A, maybe the most wins in active, I guess, in 6A. So these are conversations, as you said, in the communities that embrace athletics. There's they're married, like the community and the athletics programs
yes.
are married together, and you can see how that impacts communities. We've seen it around here. The momentum around a community typically correlates with what's happening in your school system and the athletics, and we've seen an uptick in that here recently. And when it wasn't going so great, athletics weren't going so great. So while that may not be a direct correlation, I think there is some ties to the success of communities and their investment into their youth.
Definitely is. There's a website out there that I probably check out more than
just the best
anyone in the state, I would guess. And so I need to make sure that every time that we come on air and I start running down some of these records that I mentioned, this website is ahsfhs.org, Alabama High School Football Historical Society.org. Been around for a long, long time, where they got all their information and where they found the time and the people to put all of this information into one website. I can't tip my hat to them enough. No, I do not do all of this research and go out and find all of this. It's on this website. They've got a lot of unique content coming out over the next month, so this is my plug to you to go out there and find ahsfhs.org. We'll run down that list here in this opening segment just for interest since you brought it up. Good segue there, Scott. That is the 500 club. So these are the teams that have won 500-plus games in the history of their program. Aniana is the #1 team here of all time in the state of Alabama. They have 719 total wins. Scott, you can see why. We've been doing this, about 20 years? And you looked a lot younger when we got started, and I'm definitely looked a lot younger when we got started. But Aniana is a program. How do you get win totals up to this number? You win every year, and you consistently keep winning, and you've been a school that's been around a long, long time. Yeah. So you've got that consistency as well, and you can vouch for Aniana. Aniana puts a quality product out there in just about every sport every year.
Yeah, and I don't think about them as like a powerhouse program or an athletic department in general, but they've won championships in multiple sports. But when you can get 7 to 9 wins, double-digit wins every couple of years, and that's happening for 34 years straight, you have a good opportunity to break up some wins.
So Aniana sitting there at #1 with 719. T.R. Miller in Bruton, Alabama, 718, so just a single victory behind. Another team that has won many state championships, and for the stretch of the 80s and 90s, probably had one of the best. If Clay County did not have the best program in the state, or Andalusia or a few others that had some really strong runs during that stretch, T.R. Miller was right there. Jamie Riggs was the head coach during that stretch.
Yeah, and when we were in high school and even when we first started getting a part of the program, that was one team still. I mean, well into the 2010s, I mean, they were a team that you had to reckon with, so no surprise there.
And that is the top two, Fayette County. The Tuckers have been over there, and they've been winning as coaches for a long, long time. And when they have some of their Luke and Lance and some of those quarterbacks come through, Walden Tucker was the head coach for many, many years. And Fayette County, I think we've probably had them in a state championship game 3 or 4 times over the last 15 years. They seem to find their way back. Another team that's always really, really good is Deschler. Deschler, right outside of 700 wins at 694. Is 4th all-time in wins here in the state of Alabama. Colbert County is 5th. I made a post on Colbert County this week. I had no clue that some of these athletes that we talk about all the time came out of Colbert County, but they did. Ozzie Newsome, Colbert County. Did you know that?
What's the city like that I would know in Colbert County?
You're asking the wrong person,
right,
but I will pull it up during the break. I'm not positive exactly where Colbert County is, but Colbert County has had great players. We made a historical post on it this past week that I'll pull up just to kind of give you a couple of others, but Ozzie Newsome was one that kind of stood out to me as one. I think it wasn't Fred Baxter, because Fred Baxter, I think, was a Pike County player, but maybe Victor Riley or someone like that was a Colbert County. I'll pull that up. Could be off a little bit there. Thomasville's the 6th-ranked team all-time in state wins with 677. Demopolis, the 7th, 675. The 8th is UMS Wright at 673. 9th, Enterprise, 672. And Benjamin Russell comes in at number 10 at 665 victories all-time. You go through all of those programs, Scott, there's still programs there that we talk about every year. Now, some of those top 10 aren't in a state championship run every year, but all of them feel like they keep getting wins and keep consistently throwing a quality product out there, so those numbers aren't just staying stagnant.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to talk to some of our former coaches about this with Benjamin Russell, and when I was growing up, because we won so much, didn't realize that we really weren't going as far in the playoffs or any of those things. But when you can consistently, regardless of the whatever classification, schedule, any of that, if you're putting out, 8 to 10 wins, which is basically what Coach Sav did for a while, and then was continuing with Lasmint Martin, and then obviously what Coach Horn was able to do. But these teams, as you said, consistently are putting out products, and so they may have some fluctuation in some years, but teams typically who have had success know how to keep it and keep it going.
Well, you don't want to make excuses, but, and I can say this because we've talked about Coach Martin and Coach Sav, and you were really a key component of making that field name dedication happen, Scott. So you and I learned a lot about what they did here at Benjamin Russell during that stretch. Now, we went through school, you with Coach Martin, me with Coach Sav, so I saw it firsthand, but then you got to go back and look and see what was going on in our program. And I think the 10 years prior to Coach Sav and Coach Martin taking over, we had 3 winning seasons in 10 years. And the issue is the same issue as it is now. We were one of the smallest schools in our classification in the state. So when you went to play your region games, you're playing against, Robert E. Lee and Jeff Davis, and you could have a pretty good team and only win 3 games that year and lose by a few points here and there. And so it was tough. So to be able to swing that and to win games consistently, and I think during Coach Sav and Coach Martin's time, they only had 1 season that wasn't a winning season, and it was 500. Over the next 20-plus years, right at 20 years, I think. So to go from 3 winning seasons out of 10 to a winning season for 20 straight years tells you what kind of great coaches those two were in a community that is not easy to win. We're not sitting here like Auburn right now with 2,400 in the top 3, and I think I can find me 25 good athletes out of 1,200 boys in the top 3, which is probably the average there. But when you got to go compete against those type of programs consistently with a lot less availability. I'm not taking anything. Our athletes match up to theirs for sure. It just sometimes becomes a numbers game. So this upcoming year will be a fun test to see if you can make a change for the better and go out and win something, because I think we'll have some opportunities here. But we'd love to hear from you around the state. If you got teams we need to recognize, players we need to recognize, we try to talk about that here in the first hour of the program. Go ahead and take our first break here on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Forbes Auto Sales, located on Highway 280 in Kellyton, is all about selection and service. Selection of clean, sharp used cars, trucks, and SUVs selected by Robert Forbes himself. Service. Forbes Auto Sales is all about servicing vehicles on the lot, but also servicing your personal vehicle. Keep this in mind. If you don't see what you're looking for on the lot, just tell old Robert to go shopping for you. That's what he does. Personal service, and that's what it's all about at Forbes Auto Sales in Kellyton.
What's the verdict?
Can't fix your heat pump. Need a new one.
Uh-oh. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Daikin.
Call on Kevin Kill in Sunshine Heating and Air at 256-825-4849, Central Alabama's premier Daikin dealer.
So what's he thinking?
Oh, he's thinking Daikin.
Daikin, one of the top selling in the world.
Now I'm thinking Daikin.
Daikin. Comfort for life.
Russell Do-It Center and building supply stores have the tools and materials to get the job done right, whether you're a professional contractor or just a weekend do-it-yourselfer. With everyday customer conveniences like a drive-through lumberyard, price match promise, and our Best Rewards program, each of our 9 locations offer top brands and building materials like lumber, hardware, tools, paint, lawn and garden, and much more. Visit today and see what Russell Do-It Center and Building Supply can help you build tomorrow.
Sign Source is your local vendor for commercial and residential sign manufacturing and installation. We offer all kinds of lighted and non-lighted signage, from retail signs, LED message centers, event banners, vehicle wraps, the whole spectrum. We also offer service and repair on existing signs, as well as retrofitting to LED or installation of outsourced signage. We have the knowledge necessary to fulfill all of your signage needs in the short or long term. Visit signsourcenow.com to get started.
Farmers and Merchants Bank of Dadeville is building a foundation of strength and trust in the entire Lake Martin community. With our modern branch in Dadeville and caring, attentive staff, we've established Farmers and Merchants Bank as a reliable friend to your banking needs. Whether it's just a savings or checking account or any commercial, auto, or real estate loan, Farmers has local decision-making to build a relationship with you and your needs. Farmers and Merchants Community Bank. Strength, service, community.
I'm Karen Chanel, your State Farm agent in Alexander City, Alabama, and the greater Lake Martin area. I want to talk to you a little bit today about your discounts. How many of you are entitled to discounts that you may or may not be receiving? One of the easiest discounts on your homeowner's insurance is that of having a fire extinguisher. Coupled with a deadbolt lock and a smoke alarm, that gives you an automatic discount on your homeowner's policy.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area a team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice. Bice Motors.
Plenty going on out there in high school sports, Scott. We just talked about in the opening segment 2 new sports on the girls' side being sanctioned here in the state of Alabama, wrestling as well as flag football. We really bragged on flag football and how much fun we think that sport will be, especially in communities that embrace it. Wrestling on the girls' side. Not one that if you told me 25 years ago I think we'd be sitting here talking about, but you know, I've got some family that's very interested in wrestling, and I've watched it on the youth side grow over the years, and there's a lot of girls that are interested in it and are really, really good. So just your thoughts on that.
Well, I think that a lot of times you don't know what somebody is willing to do unless they have the opportunity to be involved in it. So as more opportunities exist for people to be involved, then that opens doors and lanes for the exposure to different sports. And so if you're in communities like, so if you're in a Thompson, where if you're 12 years old, that's all, no matter the gender, you've heard it your entire life, just how great Thompson wrestling is. And so if you were interested in it, I think that that's a great opportunity to start. So like you're saying, these communities that embrace certain sports allows that to grow amongst all types of different athletes and gives more opportunities to see our young athletes shine.
Very good point. And the more sports that can get sanctioned out there, especially in these larger schools, Scott, to give them opportunities, man. You know, just talking around the state in some of these communities, let's just talk about like the sport of tennis. You know, like you want to compete. You may not be like at the top of the state, but some of the schools here in the States, you can go try out all you want, but you're not going to make the team. I mean, because they've got 3 or 4 golf in certain communities. You're friends with a lot of really good golfers, and their family really takes it seriously. Well, you go to certain schools here in the state, that's just not an outlet for you unless you're a state competitor. And so to have an opportunity to maybe go play, you know, in the EA Sports video game league that is a sanctioned sport, or bowling, which has grown like crazy, fishing, unreal, like currently going on. There's the national championships somewhere here in the United States. I don't want to act like I've covered it really well, but we had the 2 anglers here from Benjamin Russell that won the state championship about a month or so back. They're up there competing. I've got a really good friend of mine that son competes for Auburn High School. They had 480 boats in this thing, and I think my friend's son, they were in second after the first day. They were only an ounce out, and this is the high school state championships, national championships that are going on. 480 boats on one lake. I can't imagine how big of an issue that is. But my point, though, Scott, these weren't outlets that we even thought about when I was coming through. Maybe they had started to be thought about when you were coming through, but we would have never imagined somebody out there fishing being a high school sport.
No, or even, you know, having the opportunity to play. I don't know the extent of the games, but I'm just in my mind, I'm just going to say, let's say it was Madden. I'm going to use that. I mean, if somebody would have told us growing up that you had a chance to win a state championship playing a video game like that, conceptually you would have been laughed out of the room. And now it's become such a part of what people's day-to-day lives are that it's become a thing. And so I think that's pretty cool. Just giving people an opportunity. If you're good at something and there are enough of you that want to be involved in it, you can get it going. And just for clarification, so what separates your abilities as a club compared to a sanctioned sport?
Very good question. We'll have to get – I'd love to have Alvin on to talk about that, because – and Alvin Briggs, the executive director of the AHSAA, does a tremendous job. I think he's got a vision for where he wants this thing to go. He worked with Coach Sav for a decade, and, you know, he's got some different, you know, thoughts that I know he wants to put into place. And I love Coach Sav, but I love Alvin too, and I've gotten to know him really well. So that'd be great to have him on, just to discuss what that means probably from a funding mechanism within the school. And, you know, I don't know if they're able to put on events a little different based off of the AHSAA, and I'm sure that they are. And you've worked around, you know, sports and trying to put tournaments on and the costs associated with all of that. So I'm guessing that it would be something along those lines. But we'll catch up with him to get a little bit more detailed reasoning why it's good to be a sanctioned sport rather than just a club sport that's out there. So, but if you got any comments on that, we'd love to hear from you. Let's run down a few more of these top teams. These are total wins in school history here in the state of Alabama. Scott and I got through the top 10. AHSFHS.org is the website. A lot of cool content coming out on their website out there. Bessemer City's number 11. Russellville's 12. Decatur 13. Hartselle 14. Gordo 15. Pickens County 16. Eufaula 17. 18's Jackson. 19 Gunnersville. 20 Etowah. So that's your top 20 programs in state history. And when you look at total wins, Etowah's got 634, whereas Benjamin Russell has 665, sitting there at number 10. So really only 30-some-odd wins separating the 20th ranked program here in state history in total wins from the 10th ranked program. Any of those surprise you, Scott, or any of them that you didn't know about 15 years ago when we started doing this that you're really impressed with now?
Gunnersville's a team that I wouldn't have associated with that, but listening to some names like Deschler, and we hear them consistently, but not knowing if that's something that's been going on for a while, but clearly at least since we've been doing it. But the Gunnersville one, I was pretty surprised.
Gordo's a program that I don't think I knew much about, that just always wins. It's just one of those small schools that take football to heart, and the only way you keep winning like that is to be doing it right from the bottom all the way to the top, and they just do. Man, I've seen some games. They always throw some. They had the linebacker Ben Davis a few years ago that was the 5-star that signed with Alabama. He really didn't make the splash they expected him to, but started seeing some of the athletes during that stretch, and my gosh, and you talk around the state, it's like, well, you didn't realize Gordo was that good? And no, I really didn't, and they are, though. So that was one. They're 15th all-time in wins. You fall as a program. Scott, we see them in basketball. I think they got one of the best basketball programs in the state. They win all the time, and they're really good right now again, I think. But you fall as a program that embraces football also.
Yeah, and when we're doing these school board shows and we're calling out scores on Saturday morning, you really start to get a feel for, like, you do it for 5-10 years, and you start saying, okay, these teams consistent winning. You go back and think about it, it's like, yeah, they've been winning 8-9 games a year, and that sounds like it's not a big deal. If you can continue to do that,
yes,
you're establishing a brand and credibility that, all right, the foundation is set, we're going to be this. But you're also putting yourself in a position to compete for championships. And so those top 20 teams may not, as you said earlier, may not be teams that are consistently winning championships, but they're consistently winning. And you can only be in a position to win a championship if you're having those types of successes.
Gunnersville, that's just a great community. I knew it was a good community, but until you travel up there and you see facilities, how much they have built around that lake, it's like us here in Elliott City. It's an economic tool that if you don't embrace, you're leaving yourself behind for no reason whatsoever. And I'll tip my hat to y'all. We haven't had a 1-month stretch of good news here in Elliott City like we've had recently in my entire life, and that's coming from a community that was filled with 8,000 employees with Russell that turned into a $1 billion-plus company that was started and morphed out right here in Elliott City. So it's the best stretch of news that we've had. But Gunnersville's a lot like us, aren't they, Scott? They know where tourism comes. They know that the money and the income's going to come in from the taxes that are created through that lake, and it's going back into their community, and it's an impressive thing to watch.
Yes, Mayor Dollar in Gunnersville is fantastic, and they had a vision 20 years ago. Maybe, before that, but over the last 20 years, they made a conscious effort to figure out, all right, we may not be the largest city or may not have all of the things that some of these other places offer, but we're going to be the best Gunnersville. We went up for a site visit with them a couple of years back, and just listening to how they got things going in the community buy-in and understanding that, all right, you may not necessarily live there, but that's going to afford you the opportunity to bring in more businesses and things that gives you other people in the community a chance to work and then have access to those amenities. So I think that the communities are very similar, and that type of leadership causes success, and I'm hopeful that with the people that we have in place now, we're seeing that same thing happen in our area.
Well, it is happening. Don't be hopeful. After a while, you're not just talking, Scott, and so I tip my hat because I've been one that has sat there and done a lot of talking, and you do. It's not that you don't want to. It's not that you don't care. But when you don't have the power to pull things, you are just sitting there talking. But you have those of you that do have the power are doing something, and I'm proud to say that y'all are, and we're just going to sit back and watch and cheer you on here in the years to come. 256-234-6221 is our phone number. Love to hear from you out there. When we come back, we'll run down some records that are currently being set here in the state of Alabama and some that are on the brink of being broken here in the state and high school, and then we'll kind of roll over and start talking SEC football. SEC Media Days just went down. Big Cat Weekend going on over in Auburn. Big news down the pike and some recruiting side on that. We'll hopefully catch up with Luke Robinson in the second hour and catch up on Alabama football as well.
Are you in the mood to hit the road and travel in style? Then head on over to Opelika RV. You'll receive huge savings on travel trailers, lightweight campers, and fifth wheels by KZ, Sanibel, and StarCraft. Not only will you get the best prices around at Opelika RV, they also have a parts and service center to ensure you're always ready to enjoy a no-hassle road trip. Visit Opelika RV today for superior service and prices. Opelika RV, located at 6752 Highway 280 East in Opelika, or give them a call at 334-742-9160.
SCAG, the toughest name in lawnmowers. Unmatched quality and performance for over 3 decades. The clear choice, the best mower money can buy for work or at home. Top lawn care professionals and discerning homeowners know that SCAG means productivity and reliability. Every SCAG mower is proudly built right here in the USA. Don't settle for anything less than simply the best. SCAG.
Satterfield Outdoor Living on Highway 280 in Alex City.
You want the best opportunity to be successful in life. You deserve that opportunity. Well, you just happens to be in our motto. Central to you, central to your success. Your future is right now. Don't wait. Make your dreams a reality by enrolling at Central Alabama Community College. Register today at cacc.edu.
Looking for an attorney you can trust for your real estate closings? Wisdom Law Firm at Lake Martin has you covered. Your real estate transactions are fast, convenient, and professional every step of the way. Wisdom Law is certified and licensed by the American Land and Title Association and approved by all local lenders. Visit Wisdom Law Firm at 6366 Highway 49 in Dadeville or at their Auburn location at 2353 Bent Creek Road. No communication concerning a lawyer's legal services shall be published or broadcast unless it contains the following language, which shall be clearly legible or audible as the case may be. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center provides optimum care for the whole person. Dr. Dimo Popov specializes in the prevention and diagnosis of high blood pressure, kidney disease, diabetes, and acute and chronic conditions. Our weight loss clinic offers lipo shots and a guide to healthy weight loss. Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center, where lifestyle changes are made.
Lee Apparel is your go-to vendor for screen-printed and embroidered apparel and promotional products. We print and embroider free custom-made graphics or outsourced designs on everything from t-shirts, headwear, corporate wear, team sportswear, high-end safety apparel, and promotional products. At Lee Apparel, you can always expect quick turnaround time, competitive pricing, friendly customer service, and free in-hands delivery on all orders. Visit us at leeapparel.com to get started.
Couple of streaks currently going on here in the state and some records that we've kind of passed along on our AHSAA radio network outlet. Also, AHSFHS.org website. I want to keep mentioning that because a lot of this information that we're throwing down the line, we hope that you go and find them. Really good people that are providing media content out there, so talking heads like you and myself have something to pass along. Scott, winning streak currently in the state, 5. 15-game winning streak is the longest going, and that 5 championship game against B.B. Comer last year was something to see. They pretty much the entire second half ran the same play over and over and over again and wore B.B. Comer down. B.B. Comer had some great plays with Harris back there at running back, who I think committed to Memphis this week, if you didn't notice. Big old bull of a running back, and it's a really good B.B. Comer team coming back. But Fife you think that you can't just keep doing something over and over again, but Coach Benefield can, even with, I think, their second-string running back, because their top running back had been injured going into that championship game, and so that kid ended up with like 240 yards rushing in the championship game. But 5 with a 15-game winning streak's the most currently in the state.
I mean, and it wasn't too long ago they were in the 50s. So, I mean, they're just accustomed to it. But it's – as a kid, if you're watching college sports or other teams around the state, NFL, and you see certain types of offenses and the way things are doing, like for you to still like be committed to wanting to do, I mean, he's had a vision. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And all right, get on board. And I mean, it's worked clearly, but as a player, seems like that could be a little frustrating at times. Maybe you don't get to be utilized the way you will, but at the end of the day, you're winning games.
Well, I think it's like Reeltown. And the reason I bring Reeltown up is Reeltown's got tremendous youth football. The community's embraced it. They always have it. They care about it. Go watch them on social media. They year in and year out, push it and stuff. And I bring them up because they always embrace the Jackie O'Neal game. And it was that wing tee, wishbone, I'm going to pound it at you. And that's the type of athlete that they get. And I don't want to say that Fife doesn't from time to time get a tremendous quarterback, because they do. And they can throw it around, and they've got receivers. But they beat you in the weight room. They're really strong. They're really good on the lines of scrimmage. And they usually have 4 or 5-headed monster running the football in different formations that keep you off guard. So, I mean, if I'm growing up in that community and you're going to hand me the ball 20 times,
yeah.
Or if I grow up in Reeltown and I can run like you could run, Scott, and you're going to push me hard enough, you can talk me into that. Now, I do get it. I see exactly what you're saying, because the game's changed into a throwing game so much now. But you take, I've said this over the years here in Elliott City, because we always get runs of athletes. We aren't always the biggest, but if you can embrace a system like, say, what Phil Lazenby had here, you may not win at all, but you can win consistently. And if you got athletes, you're going to give them the ball. They're going to get their chance. So, hey, whatever.
And that's not the knock Fife. I want to make that. I just –
No, what you said is what a lot of people think when they go watch them.
Yeah, it's like, man, God, dog, but
how can it be this easy?
That's really it.
Yes.
I guess was that's it.
And we know it's not, but it's just a culture that's built in. And they do it right, and every year they get the same looking kid back there at running. They get 4 or 5 of them that really can get it done. Losing streaks here in the state, not one that you want to be associated with. 71 games for Columbia right now. That's a tough stretch. Regular season winning streak, Catholic of Montgomery, 24 straight games, get into the playoffs, just can't quite get over the hump. Lost a heartbreaker to Fife a few years ago, have lost before the championship game the last couple of years with Jeremiah Cobb back there at running back, and great runs through the regular season where they really didn't even have close football games, and get into the playoffs and lose one. I know that's something that they would like to change, and they've got the coaching staff, they've got the players, they've got the culture built in that when they get that thing turned around, I think they'll turn it around for several years.
Yeah, they've been one of the best programs in the state for the last 3 or 4 years, and you look at their margin of victory in these regular season wins, and I mean, it's 65-6 or 42-0. I mean, they didn't have – I may have been last year. I mean, they have a competitive game outside of one maybe during the regular season, but very, very good program.
Region winning streaks, American Christian at 35 games. Region losing streak, Barber County at 58 games. Home winning streak, UMS Wright, 17 games. I've always heard from Dadeville and others, when you go down to Mobile and you play UMS Wright at their place, just something about it that's really, it's just a tough environment to go in and win, and not surprised to see that number with Terry Curtis and all that he's produced at UMS.
Yeah, our friends in Dadeville would always make it to that matchup and have to go see them, similar to how it would be with us with Spanish Fort. But UMS Wright always has been a tough place.
I think Terry Curtis named National Coach of the Year this week. I saw that. I think it was the Coaches and Athletic Directors Convention nationally, and he was named Coach of the Year, and about as good as we've produced here in the state. He and Danny Horn and a few others that are still out there, and they're still winning football games, and I see no end in sight. Now, maybe Terry's not around for 10 more years, a few years older than Coach Horn, but just the win totals and the product that they put out there on the field year in and year out is very impressive. Consecutive winning seasons, there's Gordo. 30 straight seasons of winning football. You doing that, I don't know what as a community you can ask more for to pull that off. Consecutive playoff seasons, Laverne at 40. 40 straight years Laverne's made the playoffs. Consecutive weeks, top 10 ranking. It's a amazing stat. Hoover has been in the top 10 for 260 straight weeks.
Not that great at math, so I can't equate the amount of years, but that is a significant amount of time, one way or the other. I'm trying to think about it in my mind, but
well, I'm guessing that they're going off a 15-week season. So, my math's good enough to go that's about 15 straight years of being ranked in the top 10 throughout the year. So impressive. Consecutive games scoring, 306 for Fife. Fife's just a program that everybody's trying to reach, and it doesn't matter if they stay in 2A or move up to 3A. They're still a program that you don't want to have a matchup with. Just tremendous. And Coach Benefield, I just mentioned him. So Benefield, Terry Curtis, and Danny Horn, they just don't make them any better. And they're continuing on, and we better embrace them while we got them. When you've got great coaches around and schools that are always in the mix for championships, it won't always be that way. And right now, they really got it going on in all three of those schools. Go ahead and take another break here on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors.
Hey, honey, it's Mom. Just wanted to call and check in, see how everything's going. You'll probably say not to worry. Everything is great. But we miss you. I'll call you back later. How are you? Tell me everything.
Everything's great. I love it here.
This is Joseph Dean with Alabama Funeral Homes. As many of you are aware, we had a fire that significantly damaged our facilities. We are in the process of getting those rebuilt. We apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused the families that we serve. I want you to know that we are capable of handling all of your needs at Frederick Dean Funeral Home of Opelika, which will be servicing Alabama Funeral Homes families. We can be reached at our same number, 256-896-4502, or by email at joseph@alabamafuneralhomes.com.
You've dreamed about the perfect house, a place to call your own, and a place to not only stretch out, but to grow. Auto Owners protects your house because to you, it's home. That's simple human sense. Happy to help, man. I was just over there talking to myself anyway.
Frontline Outfitters provides all your aftermarket parts for your cars, trucks, and as well as your professional tinting solutions for auto, residential, and commercial buildings. Frontline Outfitters also handles vinyl wraps, spray-in bed liners, truck accessories, LED lighting, paint correction and detailing, and much more. Make sure Frontline Outfitters of Alexander City is your first call for tinting and aftermarket solutions. Call us today, 256-409-8100.
The 40th Annual World Deer Expo presented by Prodigy Health Plus, July 21st through 23rd, BJCC, the world's largest hunting show. Discounted tickets at worlddeerexpo.com.
Looking to sell your car, truck, or SUV? Look no further than King Honda. As a local family-owned business, we're committed to providing you with the best service and value. Nobody pays you more for your vehicle than King Honda.
You've trusted us for generations. You can trust King Honda to give you top dollar for your vehicle, whether you buy from us or not. Trust in our time-tested tradition of excellence at King Honda.
Visit King Honda today and get top dollar for your vehicle. Located on the corner of Opelika Highway and 280.
Scott, big week for recruiting, not only here in the state of Alabama, but nationally. A lot of news coming down the line. You know, they had that little break where they couldn't talk to kids, and now they've got them on campus and trying to get some commitments shored up before high school season starts here in the next few weeks and college football season starts. So not all of their interest can go towards that recruiting. I'm not saying it's all there now, but a lot of it is there. To try to get some of these kids committed. You and I have seen DeMarcus Riddick for the last couple of years at Chilton County. Was really impressed with him as a 9th grader, 10th grader, just watching him out there in pads and seeing the build that he had and the athleticism. And you've seen him an awful lot on the basketball court, and you can't hide from athleticism on a basketball court. I say that all the time. You can hide from it in other things, but you roll the ball out there on a basketball court, you can't hide from it, and he's got it. Humongous get for Auburn this week. Alabama and Georgia definitely wanted him. And so I'm kind of saying what Luke Robinson said so much. You can look at all the rankings that you want. Some have him as a 5-star, other has him as a 4-star. It's a little bit back and forth. Look at all of them. I don't care about the rankings. If Georgia and Alabama offer a kid and Auburn gets them moving forward, I'm very happy with it, and I think there's some more to come with that.
Yes, and I think that it is great that we're getting a player like Riddick, but I think it's more so important for the trajectory and perception of the program that he won a battle against Georgia and Alabama, not as individuals, but both teams wanted him. And, you know, there's probably a good chance there's a Bama commit that's going to also flip to Auburn as well, maybe even this weekend. So things are moving quite swiftly in the right direction.
Currently, the number 3 linebacker in the country in this class, the number 46 prospect overall. Those numbers are a little different on which sites you look, but a consensus top 5 linebacker in the country and a consensus top 50 player in the country is a great get from right here in the state, which is important that we're able to shore up and not lose all the battles to Alabama here in the state. Alabama's going to get they're going to get their guys. But you just, like Scott said, you can't lose all of them and expect to be able to compete consistently. You know, we've been able to beat them when we didn't have quite the talent that they've had over the years, especially when we've had really good quarterback play. But just a great get. Sounds like he's really happy to be, and Hugh Freeze gets his first 5-star commitment, and Auburn's first 5-star commitment since 2019 with Owen Papo.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah, so good job.
A great get there. A lot of kids in for Big Cat Weekend this weekend, and a number of top 5-star athletes that Auburn would like to shore up there. And Scott, just your thoughts on what's going on, the effort that's being given. Trevon Reed's getting a lot of acclaim with his recruiting prowess out there. All of the coaching staff really, getting noticed for how much effort they're giving along with Hugh Freeze. I don't know if there's anything you can complain about if you're an Auburn fan right now.
No, and I'm glad we have the chance, because I really do want to focus heavily on him for a second. But to answer your original question, it's the effort that's there. Auburn has always been a great place that has been the type of place that if you can get kids on campus, you're going to sell it on them, because it is just a different feel. I don't know how to explain it. It's an Auburn thing. But saying that, I think that Hugh Freeze, I don't want to get too deep into the Kool-Aid, but I think that he may be the guy who takes us from what I've been saying we've been for pretty much for the last 40 years to being, okay, this is what we've been saying we were, and now we've got somebody that can do it. I think him and Bruce Ware, we've talked about it, but I think that connection between those two and both of their situations having some similar ties as to how they got to Auburn, being appreciative of having that opportunity and willing to work. And it's not like there are a lot of other jobs that are much better than Auburn. They're going to pay you. And now with NIL investment that's taking place from your funding sources, Auburn's going to be in every recruiting battle and is going to have an opportunity to build the type of roster that we've been expecting. So I'm thoroughly impressed with what's taking place on the Plains. And if you're an Auburn fan, I think you have a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, just the effort. And we complain constantly about Harsin and his staff and just the effort, and hearing from too many schools out there that they hadn't seen him on campus, and doesn't consistently stay in contact with some of the top recruits. And we got what we got. We got what we deserved at the end of the day, and that's how pretty much everything works out there. I wanted to read real quick about DeMarcus Riddick, just for some that haven't had the opportunity to watch him play. This is just someone out there giving a take. Positioned at the weak side linebacker position, Riddick possesses outstanding position versatility as a second-level defender, showing the ability to play off the ball as a pass coverage defender in the box, off the edge as a pass rusher, and sometimes even at the safety position. Demonstrates good play speed, showing the ability to play in space and drop comfortably in coverage. Okay, I wanted to stop there because this is the first time I've read that, but I was asked by Brett on Tuesday my thoughts on him, and that was exactly my take. And you've called a lot of ball games with me, so you know where I'm going with this. Linebackers that can defend the pass are special. Many can't. Many just don't have the instincts. They've got the athleticism, Scott, but they don't have the ball skills to get back there and defend the pass. And when I watch him play, that's what he really does best. Now, is he going to be a thumper like Ray Lewis? Because Ray Lewis could do both. Ray Lewis was one of the best middle linebacker defenders in pass coverage I've ever seen. Derek Brooks, one of the best defenders in pass coverage I've ever seen, and he could thump. Both of them could thump in the box. I hope he can, but I'll take my chances that I've got this. I know I've got this. And is that some things that you've seen when you watch him play too?
Yeah, his football acumen is just there. You talk about the instincts, and that's something you can't coach, or you can't really make up with athleticism. You like knowing where to be is a lot to do with the success of how you're going to be on a play. So I think that his IQ is of one where he could be of extreme value to that Auburn defense, and somebody that's probably going to get a chance to play pretty early on. But he's got great side lateral speed as well. Like he's very quick, but inside the box, I think he is somebody that could be a thumper too. And he'll get in a more traditional, enhanced weight program,
sure.
And we'll see. I mean, he puts on the type of weight that we think he can, and I mean, he could do a lot of different things. You could put him on the line, you could stand him up. I mean, he could do a lot of different things with his ability to cover the pass.
Well, we talk about multi-sport athlete. The ball skills come from other sports as well. Yes, if you play receiver, yes, if you play quarterback, your ball skills have to be tremendous in football. But if you're a great basketball player, you can't hide ball skills there. I mean, you either got good hands or they're terrible. And you either got sideline to sideline, you defend well, or you can't. Basketball doesn't hide it. Baseball, you're the biggest baseball fan I know. You can't. Your hand-eye coordination gets exposed in that sport really quickly. So if you're a multi-sport guy and have those type of ball skills, they end up showing out. And linebacking play, when you can get a mixture of all of those things, it can be special. Alabama's had them over the years where they were I thought C.J. Mosley was great at that. I thought he was good enough in the box to be an All-American, but very good also when somebody wants to throw around because he just had that nice form. So we're hoping DeMarcus Riddick, it's a huge get for Auburn from Chilton County right here, and we'll get to see him again. We'll call a game with him here coming up in the next few weeks, or at least in the next 6 to 8 weeks. We'll go ahead and take our last break here, the first hour on Sports Blitz Saturday. About to do AHSAA on Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
It's truck season at Sarah Automotive. New Honda Ridgelines, $349 a month. Ford Rangers, $357 a month. Nissan Frontiers, $379 a month. And Chevrolet Silverados, $399 a month at Sarah Automotive. Plus, you get a lifetime warranty, no charge, engine, powertrain, and more. It's truck season at Sarah Honda, Tony Sarah Ford, Sarah Nissan, and Sarah Chevrolet.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lay Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. With the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau Tritoons, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com. You don't have to ask who, what, or why. Who's Diner is the go-to place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Conveniently located at the corner of Highway 22 and 280 in Alex City. Who's Diner offers the best meals and the best deals in town. Try our fresh, made-from-scratch pancakes, chicken salad, Philly cheesesteak, or the Who Burger. It doesn't get any better than who? Who's Diner, of course, on the corner of Highway 22 and 280. Who's hungry? The same professionals you've trusted with your urgent care is now your primary health provider, Main Street Family Care. We provide annual physical exams as well as monitoring health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and more. All major insurances accepted, Medicaid, Medicare, and have self-pay options to accommodate everyone. See us in Alex City, just across from Walmart. Your care is our primary concern.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better fast.
Coastal Construction Design is the area's storm specialist experts and offers free roof inspections absolutely free to assess your needs. Their roofing experts get your home or commercial needs handled from start to finish. They have worked with all major insurance sources for decades, and they are permitted and approved for Lake Martin. Coastal Construction Design also handles exterior restoration, including siding and gutters. They are also a GAF certified contractor. Visit coastalconstruction.pro or call 251-215-3429. Coastal Construction Design. All things roofing from start to end.
Let Riverbank and Trust open doors for you. Whether you're purchasing land, a lot by the lake, or building or buying a home, begin with Tallapoosa County's loan experts. They'll guide you through the entire process, providing local decision-making, prompt responses, and the best real estate loan solutions for your unique needs. And in most cases, Riverbank and Trust can close your loan in 30 days or less, and they'll walk by your side every step of the way. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. We invite you to experience it for yourself.
Got a couple of minutes on this last segment, so I want to, talk some odds and ends that are going on out there in the world of sport. First off, Kendall Graveman back to the Houston Astros. I think news came down the pipe yesterday as he is leaving Chicago White Sox to go back to a team that he really was successful with and perennial power here in Major League Baseball in the Houston Astros. So I haven't talked to him. I don't know that you have, but my guess is. Knowing him the way that I do, I'm sure that he's happy to be somewhere where they're in contention.
There may not be a happier person.
Oh, okay. Is that
outside of his brother?
Yeah.
There may not be a happier person to get out of that. The culture, like that organization built this year's roster coming into the season. They thought they had a chance to compete right now. And within about the first 6 weeks of the season realized that was not going to be the case, and they basically been bottom of the division for the entirety of the year, and they started trading off assets and pieces throughout the rest of the week. But the irony in all of this is that Kendall wanted to stay in Houston last year before he got the deal with Chicago. Couldn't really come to agreements on contract stuff, and Chicago gave him the deal that he was looking for. Now, Houston now has to pick up that same deal that he was asking for from the beginning. He wanted either a certain amount or another year, and now Houston has to cover it. But saying all that to say, they picked up right where they left off, somebody that's familiar with the organization. I think Houston is probably where he would like to be anyway, long term. So I think that this is a good get for them, and I think everybody's happy.
All right, you can't do this in a couple of minutes, but I'm going to ask you to do it. What is it about programs like the Braves in Houston that separate them from programs like the White Sox and Oakland? And Oakland is a pretty good answer, easy answer. I mean, they just don't have the payroll to compete consistently. But just take the White Sox where they do. The Mets. What is it about Houston and Atlanta that's so much different from the others, in your opinion?
Two things. First, your favorite word, leadership. The front offices of those two organizations are far superior. I mean, you look at the top organizations, and that's where it's starting. But farm system and for the Braves specifically, because they don't really have the same ability to pay like a New York or an L.A., so they have to build it and make some acquisitions when they can. And then for somebody like Houston, who paid their guys early on so they could keep that roster and put them together. So that stretch of 5 years where they were in the World Series 3 times, that was solely built off a roster similar to what the Braves are doing now.
I was about to say it's the Braves right now.
It's the exact same thing. So good chance for the Braves to be, in a couple more World Series over the next 4 or 5 years. But leadership in the front office, building your farm system, and then having these bullpens now, like that's changing the way baseball is played. You only got to go 5 innings, basically. If you can give me 5 innings, I got 2 guys who can go in the 6th and 7th, somebody come in the 8th and close in the 9th. But front office and farm system separates a lot of these teams, especially if you can't compete with the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Angels or Dodgers with money. You build your roster up. It may take a little longer, but that's how
Kendall expected to do the same as he did the previous time, which is at times being a closer, but for the most part a 7th or 8th inning guy.
Yeah, he'll be a high leverage guy, probably setup guy for them. He'll get some save opportunities, but with Presley they could go either way. But I think that this is a great thing for him, and going, as you said initially, to a place that has a winning culture and has a chance to win again this year.
And a great manager. Yeah. Just, a manager that anyone that's
Dust
played for him loves him. And I know that that's going to be a great setup. So proud for him, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity. I don't know. I say hopefully we'll get an opportunity to see him winning championships, which takes away from our team with the Braves. But we know that they'll be in it every year, so that's a fun part as well. So we'll go ahead and take another break, and when we come back, hopefully we'll have Luke Robinson on the phone. We'll talk some Alabama football. 256-234-6221 is our phone number.
It's truck season at AHSAA Automotive. New Honda Ridgelines, $349 a month. Ford Rangers, $357 a month. Nissan Frontiers, $379 a month. And Chevrolet Silverados, $399 a month at AHSAA Automotive. Plus, you get a lifetime warranty, no charge, engine, powertrain, and more. It's truck season at AHSAA Honda, Tony Serra Ford, Serra Nissan, and Serra Chevrolet.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lay Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. With the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau Tritoons, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com. You don't have to ask who, what, or why. Who's Diner is the go-to place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Conveniently located at the corner of Highway 22 and 280 in Alex City. Who's Diner offers the best meals and the best deals in town. Try our fresh, made-from-scratch pancakes, chicken salad, Philly cheesesteak, or the Who Burger. It doesn't get any better than who? Who's Diner, of course, on the corner of Highway 22 and 280. Who's hungry? The same professionals you've trusted with your urgent care is now your primary health provider, Main Street Family Care. We provide annual physical exams as well as monitoring health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and more. All major insurances accepted, Medicaid, Medicare, and have self-pay options to accommodate everyone. See us in Alex City, just across from Walmart. Your care is our primary concern.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better.
Coastal Construction Design is the area's storm specialist experts and offers free roof inspections absolutely free to assess your needs. Their roofing experts get your home or commercial needs handled from start to finish. They have worked with all major insurance sources for decades, and they are permitted and approved for Lake Martin. Coastal Construction Design also handles exterior restoration, including siding and gutters. They are also a GAF certified contractor. Visit coastalconstruction.pro or call 251-215-3429. Coastal Construction Design. All things roofing from start to end.
Let Riverbank and Trust open doors for you. Whether you're purchasing land, a lot by the lake, or building or buying a home, begin with Tallapoosa County's loan experts. They'll guide you through the entire process, providing local decision-making, prompt responses, and the best real estate loan solutions for your unique needs. And in most cases, Riverbank and Trust can close your loan in 30 days or less, and they'll walk by your side every step of the way. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. We invite you to experience it for yourself.
versus the devil I do in Jalen Milroe. Ty Simpson, I loved his high school tape. Loved what he brought to the table. Think he's got a lot of intangibles, son of a coach, all those things. Well, then spring happened, and after spring, the coaches thought they needed to bring in Tyler Buckner. So I was confused, and I went back to, just like human nature, I decided to go with the safest pick, what I thought was the safest pick, which is Jalen Milroe. Ironically, he's probably the most turnover-prone of all of them. But I still think he's the safest pick because what you can say is, hey, we'll essentially run the wishbone from the shotgun. I mean, we'll have three dudes back there that can run the ball all really well and just try and stop it. Okay? We've got a newer offensive philosophy and a newer defensive philosophy with Kevin Steele. I mean, it's going to go a little more old school as you can go in these times. Well, now I'm hearing more and more it's going to be Buckner. And I don't hate it. I don't know what to feel. I just feel like this is just a weird place for Alabama to be. The last time Alabama was in this situation was 2016, starting off against USC in Dallas, where we had uncertainty at the quarterback position. And then Jalen Hurts takes over immediately, and he gives us all reason to exhale. And really, he should have been the reason we won the national championship that year, to be honest with you. And then, of course, we go from Jalen to Tua to Mac to Bryce. I mean, I've never seen a run of quarterbacks like that for anybody else. And every year I was like, I'm just not worried about quarterback. We got a dude. Well, now I don't know that we got a dude. I mean, we've got three guys that are all pretty highly touted, that all have their high points, but none of them have really proven how good they can be. And there is already some pushback amongst the fans. Like, some just don't want it to be Milroe no matter what. Some want it to be Milroe no matter what. And I think that's probably the point of contention with everybody. But if I had to bet money on it today, I would bet on Buckner. It may change next week. It may change a week after practice starts. But right now, I would bet on Buckner.
Well, the deal with Milroe is if you go toward that system, you're really changing the system that Lane Kiffin and others have brought to Alabama, which is wide receiver centric. If you're a wide receiver out there in the country, buddy, you better find your way to Tuscaloosa because you're going to put up big numbers with a great quarterback. And whereas if you go to Milroe, you've kind of gone back to the opening start before Lane Kiffin took over as the offensive coordinator. Am I saying that right as an Auburn fan that's looking over at Alabama and recruiting receivers and all that goes along with that?
Yeah, it certainly would be better if we had a better group. I mean, I would love to have Ryan Williams in this class. I would love to have Jamie French in this class, two guys that will be at the Champions Cookout that are just awesome and probably the number one and number two receivers for the 2025 class. They're both unbelievable. I really wish they were in this class, I'll be honest with you. It would certainly help any quarterback that has troubles because we don't have a receiver room like we did a few years ago with Waddle and Mechie and Smitty and Ruggs and Judy, and I mean, good Lord. I mean, that's just a crazy group of receivers right there. And we just don't have that receiver room right now. We got some good dudes. We got some good players, but we don't have anybody like that. And again, that's okay. You can't just go around comparing yourself to some of the greatest players they've ever put on Crimson. But I think you're right about what you're saying. And, the thing with Milroe, I keep coming back to this. Somebody told me every single practice, it seems like he makes the best throw, but he also makes the worst throw. And the thing that keeps shoving out to me is the worst throw can be more detrimental than the best throw can help you. And so if that's the case, I think you got to say, okay, Milroe's not the guy. And then it comes down to Buckner and Simpson. And Buckner, though he has thrown some interceptions in his own right, he has played on big stages. He has played against SEC competition against South Carolina last year, and he's had some good moments. So I would probably defer to Buckner. That's the only way I could get to this. But it's going to be several practices in before we know. And frankly, we may not know until the Texas game. Well, it may not need to. And a lot of talent around that. And hopefully, I know if you're an Alabama fan, you hope the defense continues to play well and maybe goes back to an old school form that we've seen there at Alabama for a long, long time. So, Luke, we appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you next week on our Sports Blitz programming. All right, guys, have a good one.
Right, thank you.
Bring me that mailbox.
Yeah, get the mailbox over there, and Luke will weld it right back together for you, Scott.
Yeah, if anybody that knows me, I typically have issues with automobiles, whether it's tires or just hitting stuff, and I did kind of take out my mailbox.
Well, okay. I can only imagine the conversation at your house when that happened. We'll go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. I hope to catch up with Brett Pritchard and talk a little Auburn football here in the next coming segment. 256-234-6221 is our phone number.
It's truck season at AHSAA Automotive. New Honda Ridgelines, $349 a month. Ford Rangers, $357 a month. Nissan Frontiers, $379 a month. And Chevrolet Silverados, $399 a month. At AHSAA Automotive. Plus, you get a lifetime warranty, no charge, engine, powertrain, and more. It's truck season at AHSAA Honda, Tony Serra Ford, Serra Nissan, and Serra Chevrolet.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lay Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. With the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau Tritoons, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com. You don't have to ask who, what, or why. Who's Diner is the go-to place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Conveniently located at the corner of Highway 22 and 280 in Alex City. Who's Diner offers the best meals and the best deals in town. Try our fresh, made-from-scratch pancakes, chicken salad, Philly cheesesteak, or the Who Burger. It doesn't get any better than who? Who's Diner, of course, on the corner of Highway 22 and 280. Who's hungry? The same professionals you've trusted with your urgent care is now your primary health provider, Main Street Family Care. We provide annual physical exams as well as monitoring health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and more. All major insurances accepted, Medicaid, Medicare, and have self-pay options to accommodate everyone. See us in Alex City, just across from Walmart. Your care is our primary concern.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better fast.
Coastal Construction Design is the area's storm specialist experts and offers free roof inspections absolutely free to assess your needs. Their roofing experts get your home or commercial needs handled from start to finish. They have worked with all major insurance sources for decades, and they are permitted and approved for Lake Martin. Coastal Construction Design also handles exterior restoration, including siding and gutters. They are also a GAF certified contractor. Visit coastalconstruction.pro or call 251-215-3429. Coastal Construction Design. All things roofing from start to end.
Let Riverbank and Trust open doors for you. Whether you're purchasing land, a lot by the lake, or building or buying a home, begin with Tallapoosa County's loan experts. They'll guide you through the entire process, providing local decision-making, prompt responses, and the best real estate loan solutions for your unique needs. And in most cases, Riverbank and Trust can close your loan in 30 days or less, and they'll walk by your side every step of the way. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. We invite you to experience it for yourself.
We go from Luke Robinson on the Alabama side to Brett Pritchard now on the Auburn side, and it was a great week. If you follow recruiting, and Brett, you've been really bragging on Hugh Freeze since he ended up on the Plains.
Yeah, I think rightfully so. I mean, Hugh Freeze has brought a level of work and excitement just in the last 7 or 8 months that we haven't seen in a long time, especially when it comes to recruiting. And we've had a discussion on our show for the last couple of years. I think the goal at Auburn and Auburn fans is to compete for championships. I don't think that's ever changed. And it's been a bitter pill to swallow watching your two rivals kind of, extend the gap between where you are and where they are. And the only way you can fix that is to get players. And not just players, but you got to get the type of players that they're getting. And you got to get not just one player, you got to get a roster full of those guys. And the only way you do that is what Hugh Freeze is doing. And here's the unique thing for Auburn. You look at it from a standpoint of, okay, who do you want to compete with? Who is the benchmark of college football? Well, it just happens to be your two rivals. and it's nothing's changed over the last 100 years for Auburn. I mean, Alabama and Georgia have been the two teams that they've been compared to, and the others have been compared to them, and it's been what it is. But Auburn in the last 10 years, Randy, you and I talked about it the other day on Auburn Blitz, especially with Georgia. It's sickening for us that grew up watching Auburn beat Georgia more than really Georgia beat us, kind of run away with this thing and widen this gap. So, Auburn has always had good recruiting classes, but they haven't had elite recruiting classes. And I think Hugh Freeze finally gives Auburn an opportunity. I'm not saying it'll happen this year. He's going to get some really good players. He's already got some good players committed. I think over the next several years, I think Hugh Freeze, with the facilities and the resources, he might be the coach that finally takes advantage of all of this. I mean, he recruited extremely well at Ole Miss, although he caught flack for how he did it. You and I have said that before. He did it, so it doesn't matter. Now it's legal, pretty much, everything that he got caught doing, everybody else is doing. And so he can play the game. And he has the mentality and the drive to go out and work the way a Kirby Smart and Nick Saban works when it comes to recruiting. And that will, in turn, get the players that Auburn needs to be competitive to win championships.
Well, Brett, staying in line with your weekend, Auburn has Big Cat weekend this weekend and giving players opportunity to check yes or no. So with that, Perry Thompson, KJ – is in Bolden's in town. What did you
think about that?
Yeah, I'm here for you. But just your thoughts on those two players and kind of following back up on the Riddick news, but in general, what this it means for the program, not necessarily just getting these caliber of players, but again, as you kind of were hitting on, beating out your rivals to make a statement with it.
Well, I think, it was a good first step. DeMarcus Riddick was a guy that was right up the road, like a lot of players that have been right up the road from Auburn, that Auburn has not either been in on with the previous staffs or, lost out to Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State or whoever it was that they were going up against. And, DeMarcus Riddick wasn't really in the picture with Auburn. And, just like Walker White wasn't. And Hugh Freeze put his feet on the ground in Auburn, and he's making some of these kids a priority. Now, I know Cam Coleman was a priority. He was the first guy everybody went and visited. And, Texas A&M came in and snatched him out from under, saying, look, that's going to happen. That's the deal. That's kind of how Georgia feels this morning with DeMarcus Riddick. But the only difference is Georgia's got a boatload of 5 stars that they're offering and getting commitments from. So, losing one isn't very detrimental, but it was a big victory for Auburn to show that, hey, look, we're back. We can go head-to-head with our two rivals who happen to be the two best programs in the country, in my opinion, outside of maybe Ohio State right now. And we can go and get some of these guys, and that's what you got to do. So I think from a perception standpoint, you got to start flipping the script. And Hugh Freeze hasn't coached a game at Auburn. I think that needs to be noted. I think that's very important here. So when you start winning some football games, that's only going to help you with some of these guys. So, again, Auburn has always been successful on the field when they can recruit within a 150, 200-mile radius of their campus. And Auburn has always had successful teams when they've done well in Georgia and they've done well in state. Well, guess what we haven't done the last few years? We haven't done well in state and we haven't done well in Georgia. Alabama has a national brand that they can go around. They can get guys from California and New York and Texas, and Auburn will too from time to time. But Auburn's bread's buttered when they get their players from Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. And there's plenty of great players right around this area that Auburn can go get and have a good football team year in and year out. And I think that's what Hugh Freeze understands. Let's concentrate on these guys here in this nucleus. Yeah, we want a big offensive tackle like we got a chance at from California. But, there's some good tackle. If we can't get a good offensive linemen here in the state of Alabama, we don't need to be going to California trying to convince somebody to come from way out there. So, I think it's perspective, and I think it's understanding the landscape, and Hugh Freeze really understands what it takes to win in this league, and it takes great players. And, again, DeMarcus Riddick's just one piece of the puzzle, guys. He's not going to win a championship for us, but he's going to help win for Auburn. But you got to go out and you got to get other guys to go with it. And I'm not necessarily saying we're going to load the boat this year, but I think over the next 3-4 years, I mean, Auburn's got guys in from in the 2026 and the 2027 class down there this weekend. So this is not just looking at the trees that are right in front of you. They're looking deep into the forest, and they're trying to go out and see who they can grab. But I think if you look at the list that is visiting, I think KJ Bolden and Perry Thompson are the ones at the very top of the list right now that Auburn would love to have in their class. And Perry Thompson is being compared to Julio Jones, and look, let's just be honest. He's at Foley High School, and we all know that Julio Jones may be the best high school player that we've all ever seen come out of this state, and then went on to have a phenomenal career at Alabama and has had a great pro career. Well, he's getting the same comparison. So there in itself, Auburn's got a major uphill battle to try to swing him, and may not be able to swing him at this point. But the fact that they're in on Perry Thompson as hard as they are right now is a compliment to Hugh Freeze and his staff. And if you go over to Georgia and you get one of the top players in the country to leave, Buford, Georgia, and Georgia doing what they've done the last 2 years, winning national championships, man, that's an earthquake in itself. And then you've already gotten the likes of Walker White, Joseph Phillips from Booker T. Washington, who also was a heavy lead to Georgia. I mean, and the list goes on and on. I mean, we could go down this entire list of guys that are there today, but, our hometown guy, Malcolm Simmons, I mean, there's a lot of buzz. None of us know this. I mean, we kind of have heard that there's a possibility that he'll commit today, but, we'll see. Malcolm has a tremendous upside, and, I think the sky's the limit for him, and I think he's going to put up crazy numbers, Scott, like you and I talked earlier this week, when he plays full-time at wide receiver this year for Benjamin Russell. So, and Randy, you and I, can't wait to see what this Benjamin Russell football team is going to do. And a lot of what they're going to do is going to be based off what Malcolm Simmons does every week when he touches the football. So it's an exciting time for Auburn. I think for all of us Auburn fans, we've been waiting for a long time to try to get back into the game and try to get back into the fray when it comes to getting some of these blue chip guys.
Last question for you, Brett, and it's revolving around that NIL that you talked about and roster management. I heard you earlier this week on Auburn Blitz kind of giving your take on, not the worry that we've had over the past few years of 85 scholarship guys. Maybe you have the 85 scholarship guys, but the top 40 or 50 guys when it comes to NIL is going to be the change up that we'll see in the years to come until things change on this NIL front. Just give your opinion on that one more time.
Yeah, I think it's what makes sense moving forward. We all know that, there's a lot of money out there, but there's just not infinite amounts of money. So you got to be able to manage and control what you want out of that. And there's multiple different ways of doing it. But I think at the end of the day, we all know that there's about 20 to 25 guys. If your top end 20 to 25 guys on your roster are really, really good and they're highly ranked, that's what's going to help you win championships. Maybe rather than having a bunch of, really good solid players 1 through 60 or 1 through 70. Now, again, you got to have depth, but if you got superstars in that 25 to 30 range, then you're going to be the ones that are competing for championships. And that's where all the NIL money is going to go. Let's be honest about it. I mean, the number one guy on your roster is going to get way more money in collective and NIL stuff than the guy that's 65 or 70 on the roster. And if a guy that's 65 or 70 on the roster is a good player, but feels like they're being shunned and want to go somewhere else, then they're going to have the opportunity to do that. So I think your rosters are going to start to look more like NFL 53-man rosters, and it makes sense. So you may not see as big a teams in the future standing on the sideline, but you may see more elite players standing over there collectively rather than having just a bigger team. So, that's just speculation, but I think that's where we're going. That doesn't mean that you don't have 85, 90 guys still there. And it doesn't mean that some of those guys aren't getting scholarships down the line, but I'm basically thinking that with the way this money's going, you're going to spend a lot of your money more on the top end of your roster than you are throughout your roster. So we'll see how that kind of plays out, but I think that may be Auburn's philosophy right now, and I think if it works for Hugh Freeze and his staff, I think they'll stick with that plan.
Brett, we appreciate it. You have a good trip, buddy. Look forward to having you back next week.
Sounds good, guy. Thanks.
See you, Brett.
That's Brett Pritchard. We'll go ahead and take another break. Got about 30 minutes left here on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Talladega Outdoors in Talladega is your authorized Kawasaki sale and service center. Your home for Bad Boy mowers and Kimco scooters, four-wheelers, and side-by-sides. Rather for hunting, land management, or recreation, they have the ride for you. But they are also everything outdoor with full lines of accessories and is now your area workwear and boot store, along with kayaks and outdoor accessories. Talladega Outdoor, Highway 21 in Talladega. Everything outdoor and Alabama's #1 Kawasaki dealer.
Life is a sequence of little successes. The story of my Southern Union success began the day I walked on campus, making new friends, mastering a new skill, reaching a personal goal, the encore performance, the first date, the internship, and now, soon, the dream job. That's the story of my Southern Union success. Register for classes and get ready to watch your Southern Union story come to life.
If you're tired of the same old and you're hungry for something really good, then it's time to go to JR's Sports Bar and Grill. JR's has the best fingers and wings around, and their menu is loaded with appetizers, burgers, salads, and so much more. Follow JR's on their Facebook to keep up with their live music events and drink specials. And if after a long day you just want to stay in, remember JR's delivers. Call in your order at 256-329-2328. JR Sports Bar and Grill, 145 Alabama Street in Alexander City.
They say we live in an age of big data, where computers and fancy algorithms are supposed to know you best. But at Country Financial, we know helping you own your future requires, well, something much bigger. Contact your local Country Financial representative and start planning for your future with a personal touch.
When you need an automotive hero, you got to call S&S Discount Tire Pros. With locations in Alexander City and Dayville, we are here to serve you today. From quick services like oil changes and tire rotations to in-depth automotive repairs such as suspensions, brakes, and tune-ups, S&S can take care of all your tire needs. You just have to focus on what's important and love the drive. Call S&S Discount Tire Pros today. We are automotive heroes, and we are here to serve you.
I don't want to go straight political on this, but there's a lot of weird things. And I told my wife I'm a little sketched out on it with this COVID shot. Like the Bronny James deal, and I don't know if you noticed the soccer star, the women's soccer star, she's 18 years old. She's out running yesterday, and she just collapses with a heart deal, 18 years old. Yes, I know it randomly happens, and maybe it's always happened, but we're so politically driven now that we're trying to point in a particular direction. But you sketched out at all a little bit about this, or am I the only one?
We have a person in a group message that I'm in who, anytime something like this happens, like it's been a running thing for a little bit, like somehow, even if it's not even something like this, like, oh, it must have been the vaccine. And so, like,
yeah.
And there is some humor to it, but I don't believe that it's something that's just happening just in large amounts. I think what you said, I think there's more coverage for it, and people are looking for some links. But it is scary. Like, I just didn't hear or see about 18-year-old kids just falling out, and you have to assume it's some equation with that, some involvement. I mean, so who's to say if that's the case or not? But I'm a little sketched. Like, am I old enough or young enough? Like, am I in that realm there? But just read a whole big story about it too, about like really basketball players being more impacted by like cardiac arrest than any of the other sports. And
soccer too. You know, you think those two, they're the same sport. I had my daughter out, and she's young, but I had her out running this week because like, if you're gonna play this sport, like you can't, there can't be a question of whether you like to run or not. You've got to be in shape to play this sport correctly, and you know, and it's worrisome that if it is a hard issue, it's going to expose itself to those type of sports like that. And you know, if you're wondering what we're talking about and you haven't seen the news, Bronny James, who is a freshman at USC, we were just talking about it last night. I was talking with Justin down at Russell Crossroads about how big of a deal it would be for him playing Auburn with Bronny James, and I'm like, does he play basketball moving forward? You know, do you risk it? Do you because no matter what, you know, I'm of the Hank Gathers generation where he had already passed out on the court, or the Reggie Lewis. Maybe that's a little. I think they're probably pretty much the same generation. But I'm of that generation that watched them pass out on the court and watched both die, based around that. And I'm hoping and praying that that's not the case, and maybe it's something a little bit more. But if a vaccine shot, and it may be Bobby Kennedy and me watching too much of his vaccine talk, but if it is something around that it could be a hard issue, it really scares me because so many kids and so many of us sat up here and said, man, go get the vaccine. Like, it was just part of the vernacular. You know, I never thought anything of it. I'm like, when can I get in? Get mine. My wife's a pharmacist. I'm like, I got to get in here and get this thing. I don't want to die. And now, a couple of years after we went through that, and nobody's really talking about the need for continuing to get poked with one, it's a weird time to be alive. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I try to follow science, and if the medical community is saying something's good or if it's not good, I'll go with that. So conventional wisdom was to follow that lead, and I was working on some work-related projects during that time, and we were looking at, all right, we were pushing it for people, and if the person that was telling me that we needed to do it said it, and I was like, all right, well, if he's saying it, I'm letting it ride. But saying all that to say, it's hard not to at least think a little bit about it. So are the two connected? And if they are, is it something that is that the age group that's going to be the most impacted by it? Like the healthiest of the people that were in terms of COVID who could respond to it are now going to be the people that may be indirectly the most impacted by it.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about it that way.
Yeah, so there's a lot. I mean, you probably won't know. There'll be a while. I mean, 10 years from now, you'll have enough data. Maybe not even that long. 5 years, you start having 18 to 24-year-old kids start passing out or falling out because of cardiac arrest, and you're associating it with that. Then there's going to be some major issues that happen from that. But maybe it is isolated. It is isolated, maybe. But like DeMar Hamlin, like not saying that hit wasn't what caused it, but they also said, that could have had some impact on it as well. So you don't know.
Well, the problem is you have to question it, and it's always going to sit out there, and everything's politicized to a certain extent now that even if it's not, it's made to be. And so it's, I just hope that young man gets the opportunity. It's not the end of the world if he doesn't play basketball anymore, but if they can straighten it out and he does have the chance, then you kind of hope that is the case. You being the big baseball fan that you are, just wanted to get your thoughts on two new Hall of Famers that were announced this week, in Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland. I know you had to have been a McGriff fan. How old would you have been, Scott, when McGriff was with the Braves?
So I was
7, 8?
Yeah, I mean, so by the time I started playing T-ball, which is 6 or 7 years old, like I knew the whole Braves lineup, and you knew Crown Dog. So yeah, I would say in that 6, 7, 8-year-old time frame. So the 90s, basically the entire 90s, I was there and watching them with the Rays too. But definitely deserved it, and it's a shame. Like I may be mistaken in saying this, but he got in from the player side, I think. Like he missed out on the media side, and I think he got in from players voting him in. Scott Rowland, you could make. I wouldn't have necessarily said he was a Hall of Famer. He was a fringe guy, but I'm not upset that he's in. Great career with the Phillies at third base for forever, but. He was dominant there for a while, but I forget some of these guys. Like it's hard to. That steroid era,
yep.
How good were they after, and like what were the numbers like before? So I try to put that into context. But he was an overall general player. But congrats to Fred McGriff, much deserved.
Yeah, another Braves player that still didn't get in. That many of my generation in the '80s are still questioning is Dale Murphy. So hopefully at some point in time they make that right, because I think he's very deserving as well. I think he was a 7 or 8, 10-year stretch where he was one of the best power hitters in the game during a generation. Are we, last question, we'll go ahead and take another break, but Ohtani, are we even talking enough about what kind of alien we have out there playing baseball right now? He is I think he had 3 consecutive at-bats with home runs. He's now on pace to hit 61 home runs on the season. He hit 2 home runs in the nightcap of a game that he had started pitching in the first game of the day. Threw a 1-hitter with 8 strikeouts in that game. He's one of the best pitchers and the best hitter in the game right now. It's amazing.
Yeah, and you used the word alien. It's funny because we're seeing all these hearings on that. Well, that you can go to Anaheim and look at one, or L.A. and look at one. I mean, just if he was just a pure hitter, I mean he'll be a Hall of Famer in both levels. But he's leading the league in home runs, top of the league in strikeouts, top 5 in wins. I mean, he's just unbelievable. And people know the name, but it really doesn't. Like, he should be like the most marketable person ever. And so part of it is too, he's not.
Isn't it wild though that he is in California, but the Angels are run, back to your leadership answer, the Angels are run so poorly that they can't even take a market like that and get it out of them.
With also, just not forget, you got another top 5 player in the league on your team too. That's the crazy thing in all of this, is that like both are generational guys, but Shohei is like, it's hard to describe it. He is a unicorn, and I was listening to Colin Cowherd talk about it, and he was like, that may have been the best day for an athlete professionally ever. Like having that 1-hit shutout and then coming back and hitting 2 homers. Like people can say they've done different things, but throw 110 pitches in the morning and then come back out and hit 2. That one of them was like 40 and 45 feet. I mean, he's just unbelievable. I don't even know how to explain how great he is, but he's the Michael Jordan, LeBron, Michael Vick, Montana, all of those morphed into one. And if you could build a baseball player, he's what you would build. He's tall, he's long, he's powerful. He can throw it 102 and then also hit it 450 feet. Like that just doesn't happen. And it's sorry, I get riled up with him because he's.
Well, I knew I was kind of winding you up when you're talking about him, because I don't think we talk about him near enough. And I was looking at a tweet before we walked in to do the program this morning that said 3 back-to-back at bats, home runs, now on pace to hit 61. You can look at him. He doesn't look like a steroid guy. Doesn't look like an odd-looking Mark McGuire, lumberjack-looking dude with Barry Bonds and those type of numbers. So he's an Aaron Judge type of character where just a big dude that can get out there and get it done on both sides. It's an amazing story. We're going to take another break. This will be our last one here on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area a team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors.
Heritage South Credit Union in Alexander City is your community credit union, and they have been for over 80 years. Heritage South Credit Union proudly serves Tallapoosa, Coosa, Lee, Chambers, Randolph, and Chilton counties. From checking to business accounts, to share savings to club accounts, to their kids club and investments. Visit them online at myhscu.com. Heritage South Credit Union, your community credit union for 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA.
Planting season is here, and the Potting Shed Garden Center is happy to give you professional landscaping advice when it comes to planting your shrubs and trees. Auburn's best kept secret will have it all this fall. Mums, pansies, pumpkins, and much more. All an array of colors and sizes, along with beautiful pots and containers, indoor plants, and a great selection of other gardening gifts. It's all at the Potting Shed Garden Shop, where natural elements reign supreme. Located on the corner of Moore's Mill and Society Hill Road in Auburn.
Have you stopped by Lifesavers Mission Thrift Store lately? If you haven't, you should. You'll find great pieces for your favorite do-it-yourself project. Lightly used name brand clothing by Free People, North Face, Matilda Jane, Patagonia, and a whole lot more. And while you're there, don't miss the shoes, decorative pieces, classic and new books, and Auburn and Alabama gear that won't cost you a fortune. So stop and shop at Lifesavers Mission Thrift Store today for a unique thrift experience that won't break the budget. Lifesavers Mission Thrift, located on East University behind Zaxby's.
Lake Area Realty specializes in Lake Martin real estate. They can help simplify your next real estate purchase or sell, and have helped many home buyers and sellers through the area buy and sell real estate with precision. Lake Area Realty utilizes powerful marketing tools and knowledge of the lake to help you with your next move. Call your local hometown agency today. Lake Area Realty at 256-825-4800. That's 256-825-4800. Lake Area Realty, helping you find your way home.
The 40th Annual World Deer Expo, presented by Prodigy Health Plus, July 21st through 23rd, BJCC, the world's largest hunting show. Discounted tickets at worlddeerexpo.com.
Looking to sell your car, truck, or SUV? Look no further than King Honda. As a local family-owned business, we're committed to providing you with the best service and value. Nobody pays you more for your vehicle than King Honda.
You've trusted us for generations. You can trust King Honda to give you top dollar for your vehicle, whether you buy from us or not. Trust in our time-tested tradition of excellence at King Honda.
Visit King Honda today and get top dollar for your vehicle. Located on the corner of Opelika Highway and 280.
Where does the Pac-12 go from here, Scott? Because Colorado looks like they're moving to a different conference. All that went down with Texas and Oklahoma and the decisions that were made there, it looks like Florida State's another one that's on the brink of making a decision which many think should have been made 30-some-odd years ago to come to the SEC. There's a change, and I don't know where Pac-12 ends up in the whole mix.
Well, just – you don't have a strong enough brand. Like USC, I think is going to get – Lincoln Riley's going to get it back to that. So, but for a while, like you couldn't have Oregon, and they've been a great program, but that can't be like the team that's carrying the water for the conference, or Utah or somebody like that. That just doesn't – Washington making it to a play like that, that's – you know, it's not real. So saying all that to say, I think that you're going to have to figure out a way to get creative, or there are going to be some standalone where you may have geographically where you may have to have them in the Big Ten or something like that. I think that's where the logistics come in, but I'd love for us to go ahead and just get done and add Carolina and Duke and Clemson and Florida State and like just make it happen. Miami, SEC is going to have 24 teams at some point, and it'll just be super conference, and your championships will be determined by a couple of different leagues.
Do you like that, or is it just whether you like it or not, it's where it's going?
Both. Like I would love what it would mean from like a basketball standpoint to be able to have an opportunity to go to Cameron Indoor or go to Raleigh or have them come in or having the chance to go to Tallahassee and all that. But, you know, it's inevitable that this is what's going to take place because as these teams realize that the money is coming from these TV contracts and the SEC has the best setup for that, that's how you continue to build your athletics. So I can see where you would want to be a part of the draw.
High school football coming down the line, Scott. It's got a lot of fun games to start the season, one that will be over to broadcast with AHSAA Radio Network. And just want to get your thoughts on a few teams here in the state, and then we'll roll over and finish out with Big Cat, though. You've got Thompson taking on Opelika. You've lived, your wife worked over there in that community. Opelika went 5-5 last year, and they beat Phoenix City in the regular season. It's not a normal record that they're used to. 7A's weird right now. Do you agree? I mean, 7A's got 4 or 5 teams that you almost feel like every year are going to be in contention, and then there's a whole bunch of others. And how do those whole bunch of others get into that top 4 or 5? That's where I don't have a good answer for it.
I don't know if you can. I mean, let me rephrase. You can, but it's going to be hard for a team like Opelika to probably get over the hump. They'll be competitive because they've been used to playing these teams, but it's different when it's on the line and you're not the underdog. Like when you're 6A and you're playing a 7A, all right, like you can get up for that one game. But week in and week out, I got to play that gauntlet of a schedule that they have. It's going to be tough. But saying that, you do have to have the other classification in 7A, but
Even the differences there addressed.
Yeah, like the low-end 7A school is the same as Benjamin Russell been the low 6A school. Like some of those top-end 6As, it's tough to look at the numbers and say, how are we going to compete when they have 700 more kids a class than we do? Same thing with 7A, but it's still just your normal Hoovers, Phoenix City, Thompson, and really Auburn too, but really just Thompson. Like that's it. There's some Mountain Brooks in there and all, but you know, or they're 6. But I mean
Hoovers, there are a few, but yeah, I totally agree, and I want to get your feel because Auburn's in a weird predicament here. They got about a 3 or 4 year run. I don't know when the final school and when the split's going to happen, but right now they're going to keep growing. So I think they are the number 1 school as far as enrollment in the state, almost 2,400 in the top 3. They're going to keep growing the next 3 or 4 years before the split happens. They've got one of the best coaches in the state. They should have won a state championship, but they didn't. It'll always be a story that we'll tell from now for the next 50 years how they gave that one up in the last minute. But can they get over the hump? And you know, before that split, I know Auburn's a community that's going to keep growing anyways, but when you split that thing down, you're back towards an Opelika number then. So it's just not quite the advantage that you're currently holding, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, so you'd be a high-end 6, one of them for sure, and you're probably –
or you could be 2 low 7s.
It could be that –
you could be 2 very low 7s. I mean, depends on how much growth the city of Auburn is going to have. Now, if you got to look at what they've done over the last 4 or 5 years, just my opinion, I think Auburn could go from instead of 2,400 all the way up to 2,800 in the top 4 in that next stretch, which would, if you split it right down the middle, you could have 1,500, and then you're not real small. But right now with the numbers where Auburn is, if you split it, it would be 1,100 to 1,200. Which is right there on the line if you actually did a complete split. So maybe that's not what they do. Maybe they do a mid-tier 6A school and split it down to 800 or 900 in there and have 1,700 to 1,800 in the top school. I don't know. It's not a conversation that I've been involved in. But my point to Brett on a show that we did the other day was Auburn needs to take advantage of this advantage that they currently have. with having Keith Etheridge as a coach and try to get over the hump and win one, because that is a weird story. Auburn and Opelika, still no state championships in either of them.
That is crazy, especially like Opelika for sure, but the rise we've seen with Auburn, and they've been here. They've had opportunities, and so like we said earlier, you can't get there if you don't consistently put yourself in a position to do so. So I'm with you. You have to take advantage.
Big Cat weekend right now. A lot of players in for Auburn. The DeMarcus Riddick was a huge get here this week. I guess the three main players that Auburn are talking about the most right now that they may get a commitment from: Perry Thompson, KJ Bolden, and Malcolm Simmons. Your thought on any of those three, and any others that you've heard that Auburn may close on this weekend?
I feel highly confident that Perry is going to be an Auburn Tiger. KJ maybe don't feel as comfortable with that, and I feel pretty good about Malcolm Simmons committing to Auburn as well. Would be great gets. I mean, the star rankings that are coming in now are going to elevate us. I saw, something this morning saying, where do you think Auburn will land after this weekend? Things went really well, they could jump to the top 10 almost. I mean, like it's that serious. So they're probably mid-15s or mid-teens rather by the time this weekend is over. But I would expect for our Alex City native to have some type of announcement next couple hours or so probably. And then the same thing with Thompson. I think you'll see something later this afternoon possibly with him. So a lot of fun happening on the Plains, and glad that they've embraced Big Cat and brought it back to being what it should be and making it something that these athletes want to come to.
Another great Saturday morning, Saturday Sports Countdown. We want to appreciate all of you tuning in out there throughout the state. For Scott Hardy, I'm Randy Lee saying tune in next Saturday, 7 to 9.
Are you looking for something really good for lunch? Are you tired of the same old fast food? Well, go to Buck's. Get a meat and 2 sides or a meat and 3 sides for the best deal in town. Buck's always serves up the best food, including fried chicken, wings, hamburger steaks, catfish, shrimp, and yes, of course, the famous Buck Cheeseburger Basket. And Buck's has dinner specials too. So if it's your turn to cook dinner, Buck's will be glad to do it for you. We appreciate your business and look forward to serving you.
Have you met your local Farmers Insurance agent, Patrick Holina? He proudly serves Tallapoosa County and Alexander City families and businesses and is ready to review your existing policies or provide a no-obligation quote today. Call the Holina Agency at 256-234-0037 or stop in today at 704 Commerce Drive to get smarter about your insurance. Again, that's the Holina Agency, 256-234-0037.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Farmers and Merchants Bank of Dadeville is building a foundation of strength and trust in the entire Lake Martin community. With our modern branch in Dadeville and caring, attentive staff, we've established Farmers and Merchants Bank as a reliable friend to your banking needs. Whether it's just a savings or checking account or any commercial, auto, or real estate loan, Farmers has local decision-making to build a relationship with you and your needs. Farmers and Merchants Community Bank. Strength, service, community.